Hello again in this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. We were talking about this theme of those who open their eyes are labeled conspiracy theorists. Because the human nature, everyone wants to point the finger, both in the civil world and also in the Catholic Church. What can good because many times what happens, and I find this so often on Facebook, that there's problems in the world, in the church, and everybody wants to shoot at the one on the top. But what can good popes do, such as John Paul II or Benedict, if the great majority of bishops and priests and lay people do not obey, or at least are cowards to stand up for the truth? There's a great tendency to point the finger on high, such as popes or the Second Vatican Council, but not to look in the mirror at ourselves to find the cause of the present great apostasy before the manifestation of the Antichrist. But Our Lady of Fatima reminded us that war is caused by our personal sins and stubbornness to not trust and obey our loving Father in heaven, who gave us the 10 Commandments for our good, not for our harm. The great majority of people today have remained, you might say, spoiled, domineering, arrogant, capricious, ignorant, rebellious children all their lives. There is no spoiled brat in heaven, because in heaven there's room for only one God, not two. Everyone in hell thinks they are God, and thus there is war among these very numerous false, proud, rebellious gods for all eternity. In hell, without the grace of God and the gospel of love, might makes right. I'm in charge. But who is the strongest in hell? Satan. I prefer to be under a benevolent dictatorship in heaven than under a malevolent dictatorship in hell for all eternity. The Catechism tells us the punishment of hell is eternal separation from God. Catechism number 1035. So what I'm really saying is, what is happening is our fault. It's our fault. As Our Lady of Fatima explained, it would be a great help if at least the Catholics would do what they learned for their First Holy Communion, Sunday Mass, regular confession, and to pray the Holy Rosary with their heart every day. The forces of evil have worked for years to destroy religion and diminish prayer, so now they can manipulate us any way they want, guided by the Grand Master of Freemasonry. Many people are finally beginning to open their eyes, and they try to protest, but few are willing to pray and offer sacrifices and do penance as our Heavenly Mother urges us to do in all of her apparitions. This is the real fundamental solution. Padre Pio said it would be easier for the world to survive without the sun than to do so without the Holy Mass. This saint also said the Rosary is the weapon for these times. A good confession, a sacrament, is more powerful than an exorcism, a sacramental. Our Lady told St. Dominic in 1214, she says, "One day through the Rosary and the brown scapular, I will save the world." Pray, dear brothers and sisters, pray, because the only thing that really counts is to get to heaven for eternity, which the elite do not even believe exists, even though they're slaves of the devil. God does not send anyone to hell. Many people do not want to be with God because they command their lives in their pleasures and pride, not the holy will of God, and thus after death they willingly throw themselves into the place where God is not, but where there is all those who want to make war among themselves for all eternity. The elite, with all their blind puppets, are in for a big surprise after death. As a few people said, the hell there is, and it exists. There will even be they will even be betrayed here on earth before they die, because as they say, there's no honor among thieves. After they are no longer useful to their superiors above them, they will be eliminated. I prefer to follow Jesus with my daily cross here on earth and then spend eternity with God, who loves me immensely, than to be suckered into false glory before men during this short life and then eternal punishment in hell. I would like to talk a little bit right now going on that a seer from Garabandal, she said this statement that I would like to maybe go into a little bit deeper. She said that when communism comes again, everything will happen. And I looking at recently on Facebook and lots of other places, I began asking myself about these numerous fast money schemes recently, such as Bitcoin and all these new cryptocurrencies. One invests some money and in a short time more than doubles the money, 10 times the money. The question is, where does this money come from? Many of us remember that before the Great Depression in 1929, before the economic crash, there was a similar phenomenon of investing money and then gaining great amounts of money in a relatively short time. And the millionaires, before the well-planned Great Depression, became afterwards billionaires. The orchestrated Great Depression was a sly, hidden way of stealing from the people. After the Great Depression, people were much poorer, but there was still maintained the currency and private property and the basic rights of the citizens as provided in the respective constitutions for each country. This time, after a much bigger, well-organized crash, there will no longer be printed currency, and all money and private property will be confiscated by the puppet governments under the New World Order. Citizens will no longer have any rights whatsoever before the most powerful and diabolical dictatorship in the history of the world. Behold, total socialism. You might read chapter 24 of Matthew and chapter 13 of the book of Revelation. We find more and more TV and the mass media propaganda that seek to convince us that due to the rapidly increasing poverty, we need socialism with a strong central government. Many we're rather well, as you well know, that if you write too openly about these things on Facebook or the social media, you'll be blocked. Many times I've been blocked on Facebook and many others. Recently, it was kind of interesting that recently I actually published an article on Free Republic. And it seems that a Freemason read it and then communicated to Google about this article that I wrote. And for the first time, Google canceled one of my articles. It was the title was rather provoking, because the title was "They Modify Us Without Our Permission." As many of you know, like with the what do you call them, the chemtrails and so many other things, they're really getting into the side of our body to modify us. Many popes have warned us about the great dangers and disguised evil of socialism. Pope John Paul II tells us the fundamental error of socialism is anthropological in nature. He says socialism considers the individual person simply as an element, a molecule within the social organism, so that the good of the individual is completely subordinated to the functioning of the social-economic mechanism. This is number 13 in his encyclical Centesimus Annus. In the 12th century, tens of millions of people were eliminated under communism, in particular in communist Russia and communist China. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, declared that government is best which governs least. He also said, a government big enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take everything you have. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Socialism is a philosophy of... Winston Churchill said this. He said, socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. Winston Churchill. I end this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.